Hey guys, thanks for checking in with me today. It's Carolyn at SerenityNP. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about seasonal depression. I'm seeing a lot of it this time of year, especially as the days get darker, a little more gloomy. I feel like it started back in October is when I really started to see people coming in. And I don't know about you, but I'm definitely affected by this stuff too. So I just wanted to acknowledge that we are here for you. If you need some support, if you need us to walk with you on your journey through that, there's a lot of things that we can do. Some simple things, and then maybe some other things that we discover. But we can start with the simple stuff first. So this time of year, when it comes to holidays and family and all the stressors that can occur with that, a lot of times our depression can revolve around relationships. And so I just want to acknowledge that and invite you to work on creating boundaries. There was a study recently done in 2021 that confirmed that this thing I've mentioned before about the gut-brain connection. But the study confirmed that relationships, intimate, close relationships, very much affect our gut microbiota of all the things. So having safe, calm, supportive relationships are very important. And I realize and I want to acknowledge that during the holiday season that sometimes those things, come back and a lot of us can get a little more moody, a little more edgy, a little more depressed or anxious during this time of year. Things we have control over are our boundaries, how we feed ourselves, which I'll talk more about that at the end, because I really want to address nutrition, especially at the holidays when we're not eating so great. And those things are super important. You want to enjoy the time, but we want to be mindful too, so that we get back on track. But some of the things that you can be doing is that, if you are working with a counselor, to make a plan and maybe to check in a little more often. Just have that other person in your life, whether it's a professional or a mentor or something like that, that can meet you and you make a plan as you move and meet with your family, especially if you anticipate it being a stressful time. I always encourage that. And the more people on your team, you rally the troops during those stressful times. And then as you're doing well, then you can back down a little bit. So one of the hacks I like to do this time of year is really starting in October, but really being diligent about it, is a happy light or some sort of a circadian rhythm light. The idea of that is to help support the mood and the hormones that our brain naturally makes. And so you can, spend 30 minutes in the morning with it, just ambiently. I personally keep mine on my workspace and I leave it on all day, especially if the days are really gloomy. So before I was using my circadian rhythm light, I noticed I definitely did not have as much energy. So just a little more sluggish, a little blah, meh. But after using the light, I realized that as the day went on, half the time this time of year, you can kind of watch the sun just go across the sky like this. And after using my light, I didn't notice it as much. I noticed that I had energy throughout my day. And I thought, oh, it's 5 o'clock. I better turn this thing off or I'm not going to sleep tonight. Because you don't want to leave it on too late in the day because it will affect your sleep. You want your brain to make those natural hormones on its own. And a lot of times actually too, by using the light, you should be able to sleep better. So that's a good thing. That's why they call it a circadian rhythm light. The thing with the light that you want to know is that you want one that's about 10,000 lumens. So the brighter the light, the less time you technically need with it. And technically, I think the manufacturer says, about 30 minutes a day. But I have found that just keeping it ambiently, just across my workspace all day, fabulous. No adverse events, just positive ones. Something I notice that happens with a lot of us this time of year is we quit exercising. We think, oh my gosh, it's the holidays. I'm going to be eating all my sugar and all my bread and all my cinnamon rolls. And, if you drink alcohol, a lot of times those things get kicked up this time of year as well. And so we all tend to we all have, sometimes we have an all or none mentality. I know that I do. And so one of the things I want to really encourage you to keep doing is moving. Some kind of movement. It can be something as simple as some stretching. Create a little sanctuary, whether it's at home or at the gym, put your earbuds in or whatever, and create that little sanctuary for yourself. It could be 15 minutes a day. It could be 15 minutes 3 times a week. But something to keep moving, to keep that energy going. It helps your body produce the happy hormone that your brain needs to create all the other hormones to keep things moving for you in a positive direction. So, Tai Chi, yoga, if that doesn't appeal to you this time of year, because maybe, you had pasta the night before, so it's hard to move around or you can't really lift all those heavy weights today, at least something. I like to call it active recovery. So even if recovery, usually is referring to something else, but recovery from eating. And so, I want to encourage you that there is a lot of good evidence to support, as we all know this, that exercise helps the mood. What I want to say about that, though, too, is don't wait till January 1st to start a program. Do it now. If you're not going to do a program now, fine. But just because you have one bad meal or one bad day of eating, you binged on all of whatever, peanut butter cookies, whatever, it's okay. The idea is that you pick yourself up the next day, you dust yourself off, and you get back on track, and you start where you are. And so one bad meal, one bad day does not ruin everything. So I just want to give you that positive encouragement in that, and to be nice to yourself and allow yourself to enjoy this time of year. So most of us north of the Mason-Dixon line are deficient in vitamin D. We know this. The FDA actually recommends that we all take vitamin D on a daily basis. I think if we were to rediscover vitamin D, it wouldn't be called a vitamin. We would call it something much more powerful, because vitamin D is actually, that's what it is. It's very powerful for mood, health, and support. I find this time of year when the sun is lacking, again, those short days, our D goes down, and everybody that I check is deficient. And the thing is that I have to check a lab test in order to tell you how much to take. Okay. I will tell you that safely without a lab test, you can take about 2,000 IUs a day. So I have a great multivitamin that I like to recommend to people that includes 2,000. So super easy to take. You should take your vitamin D with a meal, because it's a fat-soluble vitamin. So what that means that is, in order to it to be absorbed the best, it should be taken with a meal that's got a little bit of fat in it. And most of us eat a little bit of fat with our meals for better absorption. Again, one of those things that I need to test in order to tell you how much to take, because most of us usually need more. And why do we care? Well, because of our mood. So supporting mood, depression, and our immune system as well. Many other things that it does, but super powerful ingredient in order to have our mood health on track. So I just finished some education with a nutritional psychiatrist, and this stuff is just so up my alley, And a nugget that I gained from this gentleman was that suicidal depression can be associated with extremely low cholesterol. You might think, but Carolyn, everybody has high cholesterol. Everybody I talk to, we have all high cholesterol. Well, that isn't necessarily true. And so again, I go back to, it is important to test. So some of the things we do here at SerenityNP is that we do a lot of lab testing. And one of the things that we can discover in a depression is that if a person has a genetically low cholesterol, or if you're on cholesterol medication and you haven't had a lab test in a while, we should really spot check that. Because if your cholesterol is really low, that could be why you're depressed. Cholesterol is the major ingredient that our brain needs to make all those great hormones. And if we're suppressing it with medication, or there's a genetic piece that we don't utilize it, we need to address those things. One of the things I like to recommend to my clients is doing a gratefulness journal. So once a day, or even if it's just once a week, whatever you can wrap your brain around to fit into your schedule, but doing something, writing down 5 things that you're grateful for. If you can't think of 5, how about 3? And it could be something super simple, like I'm grateful I could get out of bed today without pain, or I'm grateful for this coffee, or your herbal tea, whatever it is that you do for yourself in the morning. But think of 5 things, if you can start with that, especially this time of year. And if you're struggling, well, maybe pause, meditate a little bit, allow yourself to take a break and to think of all those things that you are positive for. I promise you'll feel better by the end of the day. Being grateful, it shifts your mindset, you know? Our world it's a mess right now, and I find that by just bringing it down from that 10,000-foot perspective to the here and the now, getting a little bit mindful of the moment you're in, it just it activates a different part of your brain that allows you to calm down, and it sets you up for a better day. Specifically, if you're trying to go to sleep at night and your mind is racing, I talk a lot about guided imagery. Fabulous practice that you can do. You can do that anywhere. No one has to really know that you're doing that, but that could be a part of your routine as well. So when I teach guided imagery, I talk about all the senses. So the things that you see, that you hear, that you smell, taste, feel. And so you can incorporate some of those things. So going back to what you see, maybe it's putting a positive affirmation in front of you every day. I keep a little chalkboard in my office, and I show people my chalkboard all the time because it changes every once in a while. I'll put different things on there to encourage me or to remind me of what I want to be reminded of. So there's cards, there's, putting that positive affirmation so that you can see it. Or read a book, read scripture, read whatever it is that makes you feel good, okay? Or see, so then maybe what you hear, maybe put on some good music. Or what you taste. So maybe, again, enjoy that coffee, enjoy that tea, what you smell, take some deep breaths, big, deep belly breathing, I really like the 4-7-8 rule. Very great for calming. So you take that breath in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. We know that absolutely takes us back into that calming state. And then, with what you feel. So maybe you're doing maybe you do a massage. Maybe you put on your comfy jammies or that fluffy blanket that feels really good. I think oftentimes we neglect those things, or we don't allow ourselves to enjoy certain things. So whatever it is that you enjoy, I encourage you to do those things this time of year to support yourself through all the stressors that are going on around us. So, God gave us all of those senses. I think we need to use them. So I encourage you to do so. So most of us are not thinking about our gut as we move into the holidays. Some of us might be. Women, I think that a lot of us as women, we're pretty in tune to our gut. But remember, there is that brain-gut connection. So there really is something to that. So what I want to just briefly mention is honoring that, honoring what we fuel our body with, what we put into our body this season. So many of us experience bloating or cramping or IBS-like symptoms. A lot of times it's hard to pinpoint what the cause is, but so many times I think a lot of it is emotional, can be relational, and so much of that piece is out of our control. So the things that aren't our control is what we're putting into our body. So there are 100 trillion microorganisms living in our gut. They are doing many things, but one of the things they are doing is encoding our genes. And so we need to decide, are we encoding it positively or not so much? So beyond digesting our food, our microbiota also plays a key role in balancing our hormones like serotonin. So what are some of the things that we can do to balance our microbiota? One of them, number one, this holiday season, I want you guys all to think about eating adequate protein. So many people are not getting enough protein in their life. So pay attention to what's on your plate. Measure, take a look at your hand. Protein each meal about the size of a deck of cards or the palm of your hand. Good quality, varied sources of protein. So keep that in mind as you move through this season. The other thing I want you guys to think about as you move through eating through this holiday season is to make sure that you have varied colors of vegetables on your plate. So eat the rainbow. So peppers, squash, beets, anything that you love, Brussels, the broccoli, cauliflower. Try to work on having that variety of things. The other thing to think about too is fiber. Fiber is king when it comes to keeping our blood sugar stable, feeding the right microbiota again in our gut. But it also gives you a sense of satiety, a sense of fullness, so that hopefully we can minimize the binge, minimize the sugar cravings, certainly enjoy those things, but we don't need to overdo it. But those are some of the little tricks that you might want to do. So again, adequate protein, veggies. So again, eating the rainbow, but then maybe also get a good fiber supplement. And I can recommend one for you in the link below as well, to get going on a daily basis. So enjoy this holiday season, you guys. If you're feeling down, you feel like you need some more support, I am here for you. But I want you to know that I encourage you. I am proud of you for creating boundaries, for taking care of yourself. My hope is that you've gleaned some little nugget here today that you can implement, and it's beneficial for you as you walk through this season. And I want to know what you guys want to talk about. So if you have things that you want me to address, comment below, ask your questions, so that I can address those for you as we make these videos and move forward. I'll see you next time.